Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Me?
Yes, you.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are all y'all out there doing? You doing good?
All y'all out there.
All y'alls. My name is Erin.
My name is Nicole.
This is Dude That's Fucked Up. It's a podcast.
Yeah.
In case you didn't already put that together, I'm sure you have, since you're literally in an app that would have to be playing it.
But
or
you know
something.
what?
I don't
Maybe
know.
you're not good at math and you didn't put two and two together. Maybe you're like math challenged like we are, and you're still trying to figure it out. But this is indeed a podcast.
Yeah, it's indeed a podcast. What's going on? What's happening? What do we got?
Do we have any
poppin'?
Do we have any business? I don't think so.
I don't think so. No.
No.
Just go to the website, dtfupodcast.com.
I would like to say something. Just make sure, because we do have a lot of people in the Facebook group now, which is awesome, and it is very funny and fun, and
It's so fun.
no shortage of content in there.
Oh my God.
For your eyes, for your ears. It is titillizing all of your senses.
Titillating? Titillizing?
Okay, but like it's great. But people keep posting things that are already in there. So just do a quick little search. If you find a video and you're like, oh my God, this is the funniest thing, I gotta share it to the group. There's a chance someone already had that thought and did that. And there's already a whole conversation. And if you repost it, you're going to miss all the jokes. And also no one's going to interact with it and you'll feel bad about yourself. Because you'll be like, why didn't anyone like this video? It's very funny. And then, but we're all like, we liked it, but we liked it when this other person posted it. So
like
get over
3 days
yourself.
ago.
Yeah. No.
I do like, there was somebody that was new to the group that posted. So when we first started the Facebook group, I don't know, it wasn't when we first started. It was like a long time ago though, like around when we did the Oregon Trail episode, and somebody posted a thing about the toe cocktail. Like it's like a fucking mummified toe that goes in like a drink, and you like take a shot out of it while with the mummified toe just like, oh, it's so gross. And like seasoning of a toe in a fucking drink. And so everybody was like going apeshit on this post like from over a year ago. And then somebody new to the group posted the same story so long. It had happened so long ago. They had no idea. And like I think even sometimes when you search the group, like
it's hard to find.
It's hard to find. So fair enough. But it was a delight because it was like,
oh my God.
Somebody was like, oh man, you missed out when it was first posted like a year ago. Here you go. And then like link the original post. It was fun.
I think that somebody was me.
Oh yeah, that was you.
Oh my God, my eye is watering. I legit almost threw up thinking about that fucking nasty toe touching your mouth when you're trying to take a shot.
It's like black, like it's like
black
decayed,
because it's decayed. Yeah.
It's like a mummified toe. It's disgusting.
Disgusting. All right, let's move past that.
God, please.
Oh my God. Okay, I have a fucked up thing this week.
Yes, tell me.
Okay. I signed up for this like database for auditions because I'm gonna start auditioning for commercials. I'm like taking a class. I'm like, this seems fun, which the class is very fun, by the way. Commercials I think are fun.
Dude,
because
DJ always is like, he's like a human IMDb. He always recognizes like everybody from every movie and can like pick out a person and be like, oh, that guy was in this movie in 2007 or whatever. And I'm like, what the fuck? And he recognizes people from that are like in commercials all the time.
Yeah. Because
and he's like, that guy was in a Capital One commercial and now he's in a fucking, what? I don't know. It's so crazy.
It's so crazy because so many like because commercials are a nice short job and you make some good money. And if it's like a national commercial that like, Toyota does or something that's airing all the time, it's wild. Also, I just finished a different class and my friend, I saw her in a Subaru commercial the other day and I was like,
oh my God.
I was like, oh girl, yes. Like get that Subaru money because that's a big deal.
I'm a big fan of Subarus. That was
You
like
love Subarus.
my
You
favorite
love
car.
that was your car. Also, just like so cool that it's like a car commercial. That's like the big money.
Car commercials are those are the big money because they're huge companies.
Yeah.
And they have like a massive budget for their commercials.
Yeah. Oh my
Um,
God.
Except I fucking hate right now. Don't ever be in a who is it? The Chevy commercials where they're like these are not actors, these are real people. Where
Oh.
they're like, and they like open the door and there's like all these like cars and they're like, oh my God, and then they get in it and they're like, this is so awesome, and I cannot see DJ and I every time one of those commercials comes on, we like change the channel or like mute it because we can't stand it. And then there was actually an article about those commercials about how people like actually lose their shit and become like all of a sudden a stan for fucking Chevy.
Because they get a free car?
No, they just are in this commercial and I don't know. It's really weird.
What? Oh.
Yeah, it's like a weird like psychological thing that happens.
Fucking mind control.
Yes.
Ooh, hint, hint.
Hint, hint. So weird. Sorry,
my God.
but
Okay.
interrupting your story.
No,
Sorry,
that's okay. I was just gonna say I like signed up for this database and you just like put in so much weird information. It's like
weird.
Like you because they need to know like what you can do if you have piercings, tattoos. Like you just have to like give them so much information about you, what sort of like sports you could play, what level of. So like for cheerleading, I was like, well, I was a cheerleader, so I'll put like beginner because it's been a long time. And then jogging, I was like beginner. Everything I did, like ice skating, beginner, not figure skating, ice skating, they're separate. It was just like, it's just a lot of stuff because they're like, I'm assuming if there's a commercial and like you have to be on ice skates, like it's like, oh, it takes place in an ice skating rink. They want to know you're like, okay, yeah, I'm comfortable doing that.
Right.
So anyway, I filled this thing out. It took a long time. I finished it. I'm like, save and close. I'm not kidding you. Immediately, I go to check my email. There's an email for a role. And I'm like, it already has something. It's like, now casting. It was a fucking Scientology movie that they're making this summer. And I was like,
no fucking way.
I have still been watching Leah Remini's show. I was like, how dare they reach out to me?
Dude, you should do it so you could see what the fuck is going on.
No, because they'll just incessantly try and recruit you.
Yeah.
Like, no, that would be not fun, I don't think.
Well, yeah.
And then you're part of it. Then you're like part of like their messaging, which is trash, and they're not a religion.
True. You're right.
And they're just like, I just get more and more annoyed by Scientology with every show I watch.
Dude, they're fucking crazy, man. They're just infiltrating everything.
They're like fucking like Thetan vampires. They're just like,
well, you know that they have like an auto response on their like settings for that database. So it's like
yeah.
Anytime somebody adds anything within their parameters, it's pings you immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no offense or anything, like you should be picked for every commercial, but like.
Well, this was a film even, so.
Oh shit! Well, that's the thing. They have so much working against them that people are like, yeah, I don't want to do anything with fucking Scientology. So they're like super thirsty.
P.S. Aren't there like? They claim that there's like 22 million people who are Scientologists in the world, which aren't. But like, couldn't you use them to be in your movie for free? There's got to be some actors out there that are like, not Tom Cruise.
I don't know.
What if it's a Tom Cruise movie about Scientology? Then I would be in it.
What if it's like another Battlefield Earth or something?
Wait, is that the one where John Travolta had dreads?
Yeah.
Ew.
Gross. Is that what it is? Battlefield Earth? Pretty sure.
So. Yeah. Oh, I was thinking War of the Worlds also, but Battlefield Earth is when he has dreads, yeah.
Well, War of the Worlds is like, it's like an old movie.
Oh.
And then they redid it.
Oh, okay.
Well, it was a radio show and then they redid it.
Oh, that's cool.
That was a radio show that, like, it was like a radio drama.
Yeah, like people would sit around the radio every Sunday or whatever.
And people really thought aliens were invading and they were like, what the fuck? Because it was so
that's funny.
Intense, yeah. Anyway.
People are dumb.
Well, if you never heard anything like that before and you were like, whoa,
Yeah.
Like, you know how there's like those like found footage movies and stuff, and people when they first started
Blair
coming out, people were,
like Blair Witch.
yeah, people were like, "Is this real?"
Oh my.
That's funny.
Do you
Well,
have anything
stay the
fucked
fuck
up?
away from those Scientologists, goddammit.
Yeah, I am. I'm gonna stay far, far away. What's your fucked up thing this week, if you have one?
Not as fucked up as yours, but once again went to Trader Joe's and something got left out of my shopping bag.
Oh no. Was it beer?
No, I was like extra diligent about checking and making sure I had everything. But it was so this is so dumb. I feel like just such an asshole millennial right now. But like I pay attention to when Trader Joe's like has new products.
Uh-huh.
Like when they have a like fun new product. And
Oh,
so they
or
just,
like a seasonal like
yeah. So like they came out with this umami seasoning.
Oh, I have that. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I have to, like, I got to get it. So I was like, it was like one of the main reasons I went to Trader Joe's.
Oh, no.
And I like got everything, got like rung up. Everything's in the bag. And I like checked and made sure. But it's like a, bottle, like a small bottle. And I had
It's
a whole
like
bag
seasoning.
full of shit.
Yeah, it's like a seasoning, yeah.
So I didn't notice. And so I like get all the way home and I packed all the groceries. And then I was like going to make something and put the umami seasoning on it, and it was like not in the bag. And I looked everywhere. I was like, maybe I took it out and set it down somewhere. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, God.
And I like paid for it and everything. It was only like $3, but still, god damn it.
Dude, it's like, oh, fucking. Also, this bothers me a little bit, that umami seasoning, because there's this blog called Nom Nom Paleo, and she has magic mushroom powder, and she just started selling it. Like, I think she invented this, maybe.
I mean, it's just mushroom based.
And salt.
Yeah, it's like nothing new at all.
Oh, okay.
It's hundreds, if not millennia years old.
That's true. Yeah, it's just some like dried ass mushrooms that they like whizzed around in a food processor, put some salt with it and some chili flakes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, she started selling it, and then I bought hers. It's very good. And then I'm like running out, so I bought the Trader Joe's one, but I haven't tried it yet. But it made it home. But
I also got some chili lime seasoning, so you
Ooh.
put that shit on some watermelon and you have yourself a fun fucking time.
I feel like your Trader Joe's maybe is like a black hole or like some sort of conspiracy theory against you, because
I think it is.
That's weird. 2 times in a row. And also both times it was very important stuff.
To me.
To me. And to me.
There's something fucky going on for sure. I don't know, man. I think there is a conspiracy. I think you're right.
Uh-oh.
I think there's some mind control happening.
Oh.
I think maybe MK Ultra got me.
Oh, maybe
Hey-o.
maybe all the people that work there are MK Ultra, and they're like being mind controlled to like not give you all your groceries.
No, here's what it is.
Okay.
Trader Joe's is MK Ultra. They are the CIA. They are controlling all of us with the products they sell. Where do all the Trader Joe's products come from?
Oh
we don't
my
know.
God. They come from Trader Joe himself, who's the god of MK Ultra. He's the OT.
He's the CIA director.
He's the CIA director, OT8. He's at the top of the top. He's on the top of the bridge. He is
clear as fuck.
clear as fuck.
I'm telling you, something weird is happening.
Oh my God. Or maybe he's just tripping balls on LSD.
Yeah, everything that Trader Joe's has LSD in it. That's why we love it so much.
Ooh, I'll buy that.
We're just microdosing every day.
Fuck
we eat.
yeah.
So that fucking mushroom umami powder is really mushrooms.
Dude.
Magic mushrooms.
Magic mushrooms, the good ones. I have been microdosing weed a little bit here and there. It's very nice. It's just
nice.
Like, because I don't like a lot of weed. What we're talking about today freaks me the fuck out.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about MK Ultra and like a lot of like tests that they did where they like basically non-consensually gave people drugs, which that would
Whoo, Lord.
Yeah, that scares me.
It's fucked up, you guys. So like I've always known, I mean not always, but like I think started seeing like MK Ultra stuff like in pop culture and
Yeah.
I don't know, just like on the internet years ago, and like it's just like always been a thing that I'm like, oh, that's like something conspiracy theorists like talk about, and I don't really know what it is, but what a fun time for people who like this stuff. It's like you could go down a lot of rabbit holes with it, whatever.
Yeah.
But then and then a lot of like podcasts have talked about it, and I like, you know, I've listened to some podcasts about MK Ultra, and I was just like, oh, okay. But yeah, actually reading about it is very scary and very fucked up.
And totally real. And it's
completely real.
Legit. Yeah, yeah.
Well, just let's do a little background. Let's back up a little bit.
Yeah,
just to get kind of like just a little basis in case you've never heard of MK Ultra. So,
I hadn't heard of it.
Really at all?
Yeah. No.
Oh, God. Okay.
Well, maybe I had because I've seen something we're going to talk about, but I didn't know it was like part of this whole big thing, and I didn't really pay attention to that part.
Yeah, I think I've like always known that. Like, there's always been like the thing of like people being like the government, man, mind control,
LSD.
They invented LSD and they experimented on people, and I was always like, okay, fucking weird hippie. But so it actually was 100% real. MK Ultra was a government program funded by the CIA. Went on for like from the 50s to the early 70s.
Yeah.
So like 2 decades of the CIA it sounded like they had a lot of funding for it. So it was originally intended to make sure that the United States government could keep up with presumed Soviet advances in mind control technology, which I don't know where all this came from, but I mean, it was a real enough thought in their minds that they were this concerned about it that they went to the lengths that they did to kind of try to figure out if they could utilize the different types of theories of mind control on human beings.
Well, I think I read that when soldiers started coming back from the Korean War, like a lot of them were talking about like I guess like socialism and like communism, anti-capitalism, and so the government was like, oh my God, were they brainwashed over there, or like what happened? And then with the rise of the Cold War and stuff, they started freaking out. So really it was like all this fear-based stuff, and they're like, they're gonna mind control us, we have to get the technology first to like figure out how to like mind control people if we have to.
Yeah, it was so misguided.
Yeah.
It was like they just couldn't grasp the idea that, and I mean, maybe sure there was like some psychological like extremes that prisoners of war were like subjected to by like the Chinese government who were captured during the Korean War or whatever. Like that's where the term brainwashing comes from. It's actually from a Chinese term that means like washing of the brain, basically, to get people to conform to socialism and communism and all that. So, but that aside, our government got obsessed with it basically and was like, okay, these people who were loyal American citizens are coming back totally having these like, you know, deeply ingrained ideas, and they thought that they just like had their brains scrubbed and rebooted basically with this ideology that was not American. So, I mean, I don't know what the fuck happened, but they just like got on this idea and they got very stuck on it.
Yeah.
You could say that they brainwashed themselves into thinking this, whoever was in the CIA at the time.
It works.
But I don't know.
Oh no, it works too well. We've brainwashed ourselves.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know. And I'm sure there's like some other things that we just absolutely don't know about, but I don't know, man. Obviously there's a lot of stuff that has not been declassified and a lot of information that is not available to the public.
But we know some of it.
But we know some of it because a lot of the stuff came out about this during, which we'll get into in a little bit. There was a hearing about it in Congress. There was a Freedom of Information Act, like declassifying of a bunch of CIA documents, which I read some of them. It's interesting. So, but this 1000% did happen. And so after all this was uncovered, it was determined, as far as we know, that 162 different secret projects were indirectly financed by the CIA, but were also contracted out to various universities, research foundations, and similar institutions like prisons and stuff. And in all, at least 80 institutions and 185 researchers participated. But a lot of them didn't even know that they were dealing with the CIA.
Wow.
So yeah, they like covered their footprints pretty well by like contracting out these third party people.
Like when they do a focus group. It's like when they do a focus group and you're like in the room and there's like someone leading it and you don't know that like the director of the movie or like people from the ad agency are on the other side of the two-way mirror. You're just like, I guess I like Coca-Cola, or like that movie was stupid.
Yeah, and all the while it's the CIA.
Yeah.
and you're thinking you're thinking you're in a focus group for Coca-Cola. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, it's the CIA.
Exactly. So they did everything from psychological experiments, like we were talking about with brainwashing and reprogramming people's brains, essentially. They experimented with biological and chemical warfare, specifically. Like, I was watching a little clip of a video from this guy who is in the British military. And this was like not just in the United States. This was in other countries too. Canada, Britain, like other allied countries were in on this whole fucking thing. It was so big. But this British military guy was talking about how when he was in the military, like back in the 50s, or 60s, he was saw there was like a opportunity for him to volunteer for something, for an experiment,
to cure the common cold.
To cure the common cold, like very
super benign.
And he was like, "Oh, okay, I'll do it. It'll help me get out of like whatever bullshit I have to do." And so he did it willingly. And what had happened was they sat him in this room, he and like 5 other dudes, and they rolled up their sleeve, wrapped a piece of fabric around their arm, put gas masks on their faces, sealed the room, and then had somebody with like a full hazmat suit walk around putting drops of something on the arm that had the little piece of fabric. And as it turns out, it was sarin nerve agent, which is one of the deadliest fucking chemical nerve agents known to man. Sarin gas has killed thousands of people in like chemical warfare, and like terrorist attacks, and it's like against the Geneva Convention to like use it. It's like,
but hasn't the United States used it over?
Oh, I'm sure.
In like fucking Iraq and shit. It's there's like some shit about that. We could do a whole episode on that probably.
Oh God.
I watch Homeland. Do you watch Homeland? Yeah, there's like
I didn't actually watch very much Homeland, but yeah.
Oh, there's like a really good storyline in like the maybe 4th or 5th season with sarin gas, and it's like fucking crazy. And they show someone being poisoned with it. It's horrifying. I mean, obviously it's acting, but but it's bottom line, it's incredibly deadly. It's awful.
And it's a horrible way to die. What was happening with this British guy in the military that he was volunteering for was, what he didn't realize was that it was sarin gas or sarin nerve agent, and it was absorbing through the cloth into his skin. And what they were testing for was to see what the threshold was that a human would basically die or like have start having effects, and what would happen. Like if they would die or just get sick or what.
Or like some sort of mental break or like, yeah. Because also they were like starting to dabble with mind control, right? So they were like seeing what sort of like mental.
Yeah, they wanted to see like if they could use it for, if like a certain amount of it could be used for something else other than just like death and destruction.
Yeah.
But yeah, this guy was like talking about it and did not know that's what it was all about, and found out later that's what it was. And he survived, obviously, but holy fucking shit.
Dude, that's so fucked up. He said he like started tripping balls and like the room started closing in and he got super claustrophobic to the point where they were like, let us out, like all of them. And then when they got outside, they were like, oh my God, I feel better. But it was like this weird, like
claustrophobia. It like induced claustrophobia. Yeah. It was really scary for these people who had participated.
Oh my God.
And I don't know. I just watched that little bit and I was like, holy fuck. And that was like kind of not obviously the worst thing that happened, but like, that's insane. That's insane.
That's insane.
So that's like one small example of some of the biological and chemical stuff they were fucking with. Mm-hmm. They also were experimenting with many other substances that we know now as fun think LSD is not a fun drug. I don't know. I've never done LSD, but I think it'd break my brain.
Yeah,
because I know people whose brains are broken from it.
Oh, so no. I don't want any of these drugs that they talk about. Like they maybe use like it's also rumored that they use MDMA, or maybe not rumored. Maybe this is like legit. They were like MDMA, that's ecstasy, mescaline, heroin, barbiturates, methamphetamine, that's speed, meth.
Yeah.
Are speed and meth the same? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And magic mushrooms, which this does sound like a raven party time for maybe some people, but not me. I would not like to do any of those things.
Well, and the problem with this is that they were experimenting on people without them knowing what it was, or without them knowing they were being dosed at all.
Yeah, no. So most people, there was no consent. That's so fucked up. Like, I would be so angry.
I mean, and a lot of the times they didn't tell them what they were doing, but they would be like, "We're going to give you something, and we want you to do this." So, like, I remember I found there was one of the most interesting things I've seen in like a while. This was like a long time ago. I found this on the internet. And it was pretty popular like several years ago, going around the internet. Like in the 50s, they had a guy in a room, like, and they told him, okay, now draw a picture of a spider or no, draw a self-portrait. And he wasn't like a very good artist. He was just a normal person.
Yeah.
And totally sober. And then he was dosed with LSD, and they were like, okay, now draw a picture again every like 15, 20 minutes or something. And it just got progressively more and more like insane of a self-portrait that he was drawing.
Oh.
As he was reacting to the LSD. It's so crazy. Well, now microdosing with LSD is super popular. Apparently it like helps some people be like more productive, helps them with like intimacy issues, communication issues. So it's interesting. I don't know.
I wonder what it's doing to your brain to like unlock whatever it is that's like. It's so wild to me. But yeah, it could also break your brain because people have had experiences where it has fully changed like their being. And they like talk about it afterwards. Also, that comes from a bad trip. You could have a bad trip on anything and it could change like the fiber of your being.
Yeah, like when I overdosed on edibles, like
on the toilet?
Yeah. Yeah. I am now afraid of dying on the toilet. Like that has changed the fiber of my being. But yeah, so not all
I
of it.
have a solution for that. Eat more fiber.
Wear a diaper.
Wear a diaper.
Then you'll never die on the toilet.
Yeah, true.
Well, yeah. So all these experiments, though, the whole intent of it was to study the use of biological and chemical materials and see how they altered human beings and their behavior. So, and this is according to the official testimony of the CIA director at the time, Stanfield Turner, in 1977. That was the whole purpose. It didn't help that this whole project was conducted in extreme secrecy because of the ethical and legal questions that would surround the program. They wouldn't have been able to do all the things that they did if they would have gotten permission. Like, you know what I mean? Like they had to do all this stuff under secrecy and without telling people.
I mean, they could have done it if they would have gotten permission still, because someone still allowed for this to all happen. Like, someone was still responsible for, like, greenlighting all this. But, like, I guess when it comes down to the test subjects, if you're like, all right, now we're going to give you, like, a mind control drug and, like, see what happens, they wouldn't have gotten the normal swath of people that they got. Right. They would have gotten, like, the guy who's like, hey, I heard you guys, but... do an LSD down here. And kind of like, I'm thinking of that sketch where Will Ferrell's the nude model for the art class.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just like really gross. And it would just be all those people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. But also, they were doing these experiments on people who were in prison and were in like mental health facilities. So,
or like college, like people who were like barely adults.
Yeah, there was just like an extra layer of non-consent to it.
Yeah.
That was especially fucked up. Especially like, I don't know, there's something really sick about doing this to people who were in a mental health facility. That were there to possibly, for getting better from their whatever was going on with them. And then like the prison shit, man, that's
fucking
fucked
wild.
Up.
Like the mental health institute, maybe they were doing it to see if it could help, who knows,
maybe,
see if it could help the situations they were in, because it is medicinal in some ways, I suppose. But the prison is, I mean, you're just doing it to these people because they're in this situation. Like there's and they have to do it.
Not everybody in prison is a murderer, or a rapist or
also,
whatever. A lot of people that are in prison are there for like little fucking petty things, and they might have been able to live a normal life after they got out of prison, but because they were subjected to these experiments, that all was over for a lot of people.
Also,
the fucking ruined people.
This is like ethics. Just because someone did rape or murder someone, you're gonna like experiment on them with drugs.
That's right.
Like that.
That's
I don't know. That's not. I don't know that that's something we should be doing as a people.
That's
I mean, know.
That's what the Nazis did, and that's actually the inspiration for all this. Is human experimentation? That's where this all came from. They were they achieved a lot of results. We should try it.
Oh, that's really bad.
Yeah.
Oh, the Nazis were doing this. Maybe we should try it over here. It's like, oh no, that is not a thought anyone should have.
No. So this is a quote from a Senate hearing that happened after this was all found out. Quote, the research and development program, and particularly the covert testing programs, resulted in massive abridgments of the rights of American citizens, sometimes with tragic consequences. That was the conclusion of a Senate hearing, 1975 to 76, that was held in response to finding out about this little project that the government had going on.
Ooh,
so,
that's some early shade.
Very, very shady. So 2 deaths, there has to be more deaths that occurred because of MK Ultra, but 2 deaths can absolutely, without a doubt, be attributed to the U.S. government. And one of those deaths was Frank Rudolph Olson, who was he was an American bacteriologist and a biological warfare scientist who worked for the CIA. And he was working out of Camp Dietrich in Maryland. And he, at one point, was part of this, I guess, starting to do experiments with the people in the CIA for MK Ultra. But he was at a meeting in rural Maryland and was covertly dosed with LSD by his CIA supervisor, which I don't know if he knew he was in on this. Like, he was actively participating in stuff for the CIA as part of MK Ultra, or if he was like doing something totally separate that had nothing to do with it, but that got caught up in it somehow. I don't know.
I feel like it's separate because I think he was working on, like, one of the projects I read that he was working on specifically was like aerosol cans of anthrax maybe or something. It was like some sort of biological aerosol can that he was working on, and he was working on it with monkeys and like seeing how much it would take to kill monkeys and stuff. And I don't think he liked his job very much. But anyway,
it sounds terrible.
Yeah, I feel like it was secret. Like, again, like they wanted to see how normal people, like, this is something that people involved in MK Ultra, like in the CIA and like who were like, you know, managing it, had said like they wanted to see normal people's reaction to this type of thing. They wanted to see if they could brainwash people who were smart and like had families and like that. So I feel like it was secret when they did it to this guy. And also, like, they were at some like I think they were at some like retreat or something.
Yeah.
And they put it in his cordial, which it was just Cointreau. Do people drink that by itself?
Isn't that like orange liqueur?
Yeah, it goes in like...
It's like what you put in margarita.
Yeah,
right?
A Cadillac margarita.
Cadillac margarita.
Yeah,
that's
the
weird.
best kind. I want one of those now.
But not with LSD in it.
No.
I guess, like, people drink it by itself. I don't know. They were doing weird stuff back then, man.
Yeah. Well, he had a really bad trip.
Yeah. He was dosed by his fucking supervisor.
Dude.
That's a terrible boss. And 9 days after that, after he was dosed, he plunged to his death from the window of a 10th story New York City hotel room. The government described his death as a suicide, then as a misadventure, and then others were like, no, he was murdered. But they basically were responsible for his death.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's like documented now that he was killed like by government LSD testing.
Yeah.
I don't think it explicitly says like we pushed him out the window, but it's like as a result of all this MK Ultra LSD government testing, he died.
Right. They broke him basically and didn't want to say anything about it, and they covered it up for a long time. Yeah. The Netflix series Wormwood, it's like a little mini series. I started watching it last night, but I got really tired and I was like kind of scared. Like, I don't know, the LSD like trippiness like freaks me out a little bit. So I was like, I'm gonna have bad dreams. So I stopped watching it. But
we watched it a while ago.
Is it good?
It's okay. I started rewatching it last night because it was a long time ago, but so it's like half documentary with this guy's son. What's his name? Frank Olsen, his son, is like being interviewed in the series, but also the other half is like actual actors, like Peter Sarsgaard's in it. Yeah. And then they're like acting out what is being talked about, and that it just is very slow to me. But in this, basically this is like I guess spoiling it. So if you want to watch the 6-part series and you have the time, just skip ahead. But they exhume his body as like part of this series, and they found that when they did like an exhumed autopsy or whatever they call it on him, he had signs that weren't consistent with just the fall. So they hadn't done like an autopsy at the time. I don't even think they let his family see his body. There was like a huge it was very much covered up, and like they tried to buy off this family and like brought them to the White House to meet the president, who was Gerald Ford at the time, and they had like a White House meeting, and they tried to give them money, and like it was real sketchy because they were covering this all up. But years later they found out in 1997 there were some declassified documents, and this was like, they didn't think that it would like connect back to this, but it's just something that happened, and there was like legit foul play, because in these documents there was a CIA assassination manual dating from the late in 1953, and this guy Eric Olson, who was Frank Olson's son, was able to determine that like it basically said in this manual that the best way to cause an quote unquote accident is to push someone from 75 feet up or more where they will land on a hard surface. So it was basically saying, hey, you're in the CIA, something goes wrong and you need to get rid of someone. The best way to kill them essentially is to drop them from over 75 feet up and have them land on a hard surface. And
yikes.
It was fucked up. There's just like, it's not even conspiracy. There's just a lot of shit, actual like factual shit around this thing that was definitely cover up. And like people admitted to it later.
Damn, dude. Yeah. That is fucked up.
Dude, it's fucked up. But they pushed him out because they had dosed him and he knew like everything that was going on.
Yeah, he knew something was wrong and he was like, dude, I'm going to not be quiet about this. And they're like, well, all right, let's just look out the window real quick. And
do you mind stepping over here by the window? Thank you.
Yeah. That's insane. And then the other death that was definitely determined to have been done by the American government is it's this guy Harold Blower, who is an American tennis player.
Oh.
Who died as a result of injections of 450 milligrams of MDA, which is an analog, basically, of the precursor to what MDMA became. And it was given to him intravenously as part of an army study, but it killed him. And this happened in 1953 as well.
I feel like I've heard of this before.
Yeah, so this guy, Harold Blower, he was checked into a New York Psychiatric Institute in late 1952 to seek help for depression following a divorce. But while he was at the facility, he was used as a test subject in experiments conducted by the Army Chemical Corps. The Army had a classified agreement with the Psychiatric Institute. So they like had this agreement and this like whole thing set up with this institute that just allowed them to come in and study possible chemical warfare compounds by giving them to the patients at this place.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So this guy Blower had no knowledge of the experiment being performed on him. He thought, this is just part of my treatment or whatever. And they killed him. And after his death, the experiment was covered up by the state of New York, the U.S. government, and the CIA for 22 years. In 1987, a United States District Court judge awarded Blower's estate over $700,000 in a ruling that described Blower as a guinea pig whose medical records had been altered to disguise the actual cause of death.
Ooh.
That's crazy.
That is not good.
This all happened. There's evidence. There's a million things that, they've admitted to this happening. So,
yeah. Well, because it got uncovered at some point.
Yeah. It got uncovered, but nothing really ever happened. So.
Yeah, people weren't punished. You mean? Like, people weren't held accountable.
No.
And also, I mean, it is because it was a bit of the wild, wild west. There wasn't. People were just like fucking. There was no like structure to this stuff. There was It was wild. There was actually one experiment where people were having a lot of fun. Actually, it was called Project Midnight Climax, and it was
Ooh.
a bunch of agents in the Bay Area, like in San Francisco Bay Area, who also were like, yeah, dude, no one was babysitting us. Like, we didn't have to report anything to anyone. It was so top secret. And, like, we didn't know what we were doing. We were basically just, like, giving people drugs and, like, seeing what would
Jesus.
happen. And that's what they did for 20 years with MK Ultra. Like, it's fucking crazy. But this one, the whole point of Project Midnight Climax was to see what would happen when people fucked on LSD.
What a sexy, fun time. This is the literal opposite of what we just talked about.
Well, kind of. I mean,
Kinda.
the sex was consensual, but the drugs still were not. So,
Dude.
like, basically, they were bringing dudes in and into, like, a room that was mic'd and had a two-way mirror. And a bunch of, like, all these CIA guys were just, like, fucking probably drinking and smoking and, like, sitting behind this two-way mirror. And this guy would come in and a government-hired sex worker would...
That is a gig if I ever heard one.
What a gig. Well,
my God.
they would dose him and then wait for it to kick in and then be like, oh, do you want to, like, get down or whatever? And the guy would be like, yeah. And then they'd fuck on while this guy was on LSD, and a bunch of people would just be watching, and, like, people were partying. Like, they were, this experiment in particular was loose.
Yeah. That is unreal. Wow.
Yeah, just like let's mind control someone and see what happens when they fuck.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Insane.
Yeah, it's still not good, but maybe not as bad. I don't know.
I mean, that is so insane. How fucking scary. Ugh. I can't believe this happened.
I know.
It's wild. I mean, so like I said, all this came out because of the Rockefeller committee hearing, basically. But I feel like I can't believe, I don't know, we never really heard about this in school or anything. Like, we were never taught this shit.
Yeah. Why? I wonder why. I don't know.
My theory is that it was because Watergate had just happened. Like, literally, it had just happened. So that was all still in the, like, Gerald Ford became president.
Yeah.
And because Nixon
Resigned.
had been booted.
Yeah.
And he was the vice president after Spiro Agnew had resigned. So he became president. It's so stupid. What a fucking terrible time in American history.
Oh my God.
I can't believe, like, we didn't really learn about all this stuff in history class when we were kids, or even in college. I feel like we need, like, an entire semester dedicated in high school, or, like, a required capstone class in college to, like, help us understand what the fuck was happening in the 70s.
Also, this shit's fucking exciting and interesting, and like, high school kids would be super into this and, like, be excited to learn. Fuck memorizing the presidents. I don't give a shit. There's so many presidents that did nothing, and
they all look exactly the same, and they're all fucking boring.
And they're all a bunch of white men fucking swinging their dicks around and doing bad things and not putting this country in a good place, and we're still dealing with all this shit.
Well, that's the thing. If we would have just learned about how fucked up the 70s were, we wouldn't be literally almost in the same situation that we are now. Like, we are just repeating history constantly because we don't learn, okay, when you have a fucking idiot doing this, X, Y, and Z, then I don't know. It's just all very much a warning to not repeat history. So the 70s were fucked. We, like, talked about all this, like, when we did the episode on what's her head? Fucking Tanya.
What's her real name?
Who cares?
Oh my God. I just have I have a piece of fan art on my desk that says Kiss My Cunt Adolf Tanya's story. And it has a picture of Patty Hearst. It has a picture of Patty Hearst holding the gun before they did the bank heist. Anyway, it's funny.
Oh my
Quincy
God.
made it. So good.
Well, the 70s were crazy. So the Watergate had just happened. Nixon had just been booted. Ford's in the White House now. And they have this whole committee hearing about the CIA, basically. This is like the Mueller report for the 70s. Like how we're all hyped up on the Mueller report, but we really still don't know what's in the Mueller report. But this was like all happening in public. All this shit was like known. And so, Nelson Rockefeller was Ford's vice president at the time, and he was running this whole thing. So that's why it's called the Rockefeller Committee. So this whole committee was created in response to a December 1974 report that the New York Times had done about the CIA conducting illegal domestic activities, which included those experiments on U.S. citizens in the 60s. The commission issued a single report in 1975 touching upon certain CIA abuses, including mail opening and surveillance of domestic dissident groups. And it obviously publicized Project MKUltra. A lot of investigative efforts were hampered by the fact that the CIA director, Richard Helms, the CIA director at the time, ordered all MKUltra files be destroyed in 1973. So a lot of the shit that they did, we don't even know. And they were destroying documents as they were doing, like, experiments. Like, once they were done with an experiment, they'd, like, burn everything.
Oh, my God.
So we have no idea. The only reason...
And they were opening people's mail.
Oh, my God.
That's illegal.
They were doing so much shit. Oh, my God. So there was another committee that came out of this called the Church Committee. They also were investigating all this shit, but the only way we know all this stuff is because they found people who were they were relying on testimony of participants who had experiments done on them, and then also a small number of documents that survived the like burning of all the documents. And then in 1977, the Freedom of Information Act requests that uncovered a cache of 20,000 documents relating to Project MKUltra, which I guess they were like financial documents mostly, so they got kind of overlooked.
Oh, cool.
And then also they found some more surviving information, which was declassified in July 2001. And then in December 2018, more declassified documents, which included a letter to an unidentified doctor discussing work on 6 dogs made to run, turn, and stop via remote control and brain implants.
Oh, my God.
So I guess like literally everything that we know is just the tip of the iceberg. And that's why there's so much conspiracy theory surrounding this, because we just don't know. And it could literally have been anything. They were just willy-nilly. I mean, if they were getting people to fuck on LSD, I can only imagine what else they were doing.
Or like implant what they think are like control devices into dogs' brains. Like, I knew they were doing that to mice, but like, that's wild. Also, a lot of these documents, I always find this cool because it's kind of like anarchist, but I feel like a lot of these documents are like that did survive or because people took them home.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You know, like people, sometimes when shit like this is going on and people are in the CIA or like involved in whatever this bad stuff is, they're like, maybe I should keep track of this in case someone needs it down the road. Like, I don't know if I'm 100% on board, and that's what's always cool, because they're like,
yeah, they're the ones that like
whistle blow, bitch.
Yeah, blow that whistle. Well, because I mean, this was all just so fascinating, and the possibilities are kind of endless if you really think about it, of what it could be, that it ended up being in pop culture a lot. Like, it's I don't know. It pretty much permeated our our culture, and like a lot of fiction, like Manchurian Candidate.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. I mean, so like fucking the Avengers, like Captain America, like Bucky.
Oh.
He was like
Oh yeah.
he was like brainwashed by the Soviets. Like
Yeah.
that's all part of that shit.
Well, people just become obsessed with it. Like the guys who created Stranger Things, like season 2 is supposedly about MK Ultra.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it. Have you watched season 2?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was just reading an article on Rolling Stone, and the fucking site just kept crashing my computer, which is like, this is a legitimate site, okay? It's not like someone's blog. Fucking figure it out. It's 2019, Rolling Stone. You're going to try and be reputable.
Their website sucks so bad. It kept crashing. I just had to finally close the tab. It was so annoying. And then meanwhile, another website I have open just like is auto playing a fucking like ad that has like sound in it, scaring the shit out of me when I first.
Which you're like not supposed to do that. I don't know how that happens. It's like not best practices.
Not at all.
Well, I know that the author of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Well,
Ken Kesey.
Yeah, Ken Kesey was like, he was actually experimented on, I think at Stanford. He was in college during some of these experiments, and he was like part of it. But then he liked it.
Yeah, Ken Kesey was like a fucking original, like, he was like one of the original LSD dudes. Who was like in the 60s.
Yeah. Well, because of college, like he like got a taste of it, and then he would throw these huge fucking ragers where everyone's just like, our faces are melting off, or whatever happens when you're on LSD. I don't know. Oh my god, what's the drug right now that's like popular? It's 3 letters. It's the drug. It's the drug that mimics when you die. The feeling of when you die. I forget what it's called, but I was talking to my dad about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've done that, but it wasn't on purpose." And I was like, "What do you mean?"
What?
He said, "Yeah." He was like, "I was at a concert and people were like passing around a joint, and he like." He like took a hit of it and said, this lady's like, hey, there's whatever that drug is in there, as he's smoking it.
Oh, God.
And he says, and I turned around and her face was melting off. And I was like, oh, you think? When he tells that story, you know that he went through that experience. Like, it is so emotionally charged and coming from such a deep place.
Oh my god. Oh, DMT. That's the name of it.
Yeah. She's like, oh, that has a DMT in it, as her face is melting off. And I was like, oh, you fucking think? Thanks a lot. And then he had a really bad night. Anyway.
Sounds terrible. That's fucked up. Well, yeah. And like, because so many people are like, it could be, MK Ultra could be like anything now at this point. Like, it could still be going on, which I don't know about that.
I don't think so. I feel like once it was made public, the government probably wouldn't touch it again.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they still
but
do
who knows? That's
that.
like a good cover.
Yeah. But, I don't know.
Well, so, I don't know. There is a lot of people who think that that a lot of celebrities are part of MK Ultra. So, like, it's like an Illuminati kind of, conspiracy theory where it's like anybody who's any female pop star, really.
Huh. That seems sexist.
Oh yeah, especially
Mind
if it's a pop star that's like successful and or has had a mental breakdown, like Britney Spears. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's bullshit. I don't know.
I watched a really dumb video about like it was like evidence of MK Ultra influence over celebrities, like, and it was kind of like showing footage of like people having either no reaction to something that's happening or having like a weird emotional reaction. Like Bill Clinton, before he gave like some speech, is just like dead-eyed staring out into the camera. It's like, okay, well, I mean, he's getting his face powdered right before he's going to go give a speech about something to the fucking all of the United States and the world. And like, maybe that's a moment where he's like
in his head a little bit.
or
yeah.
like meditating for a second. Like
Yeah.
maybe he's like, I don't know, thinking about the weight of what's happening. Or like the Britney example where it was like she was getting interviewed by like the Today Show or something, and they ask her about they're like, oh, you've had like a really hard year, and like, wow, like, you know, there was an illness in your family, and you're going through a public divorce or a separation, and this happened and this happened and this happened, and then she starts crying, and it's like, yeah, because she had a bad year,
dude. Yeah,
what?
People. It's so stupid. Like people like to say like Amanda Bynes is part of MK Ultra.
I believe she probably had a bad trip of some sort at some point, and it maybe broke her a little bit psychologically. But that's different.
Yeah, Miley Cyrus is also controlled by MK Ultra. Beyonce, obviously. Katy Perry, Marilyn Monroe was part of MK Ultra. Lady Gaga, obviously.
So dumb.
Shia LaBeouf, King Kesey, Kesha, Justin Bieber, Rihanna. Bitch, nobody controls Rihanna. Fuck you.
Oh.
Whitey
so
Bulger. I don't know why. Taylor Swift. The Coreys. Oh, that's a new one for me.
Oh, Corey Heyman, Corey, other one.
Yeah. Corey Feldman. Did I say Mariah Carey, Kurt Cobain, Roseanne Barr? No, Roseanne Barr is just a racist piece of shit. Sorry. Cat Williams, Bill Cosby. It's just these are all people that are controlled by MK Ultra. So,
oh my god,
just FYI.
Fucking Ted Bundy, people said was like part of MK Ultra experiments when he was like young, and the lyricist for the Grateful Dead, which maybe.
I don't know. It's stupid. I mean, it's not stupid. It's stupid that people think these, you know, people who are celebrities and having a hard time maybe are part of MK Ultra. Like, that's just dumb. Like, if you're going to have a conspiracy theory, have one that's like rooted in actual reality. Like these, like try to find things that are real. Like search for actual survivors of the experiments that really happened. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It is weird. This is such a weird one because it isn't a conspiracy theory because the CIA and the government has like admitted to doing a lot of this stuff and trying to cover it up.
Yeah.
But like what is a conspiracy theory is that like it's like carried through to today, which is like,
yeah.
It's just, no.
Maybe we're in MK Ultra and don't even know it.
Oh my God.
I mean, you wouldn't know if mind control was truly being used on you. That's the whole point, that you do these things and have no recollection of doing the things that you're being controlled by the government to do.
But wouldn't you have huge chunks of time where you're missing what happened? That's the thing.
Sometimes I do. But that's just a symptom of, you know,
yeah,
having a fucking baby.
Oh. But you're not missing whole chunks of time. You're just like, where'd I put that umami?
Yeah. Fucking Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe is behind all this, like we said.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, there is no such thing as like mind controlling people's free will in this way. Like, you know, I think you can brainwash people, obviously, and all that stuff, but like...
Well, that's the interesting thing, is that there is no real evidence that you can do that. There is a psychological component, but there's no like, you can't like manifest it with like these physical things. Like you can break a person down in a lot of ways, but it's like a gradual process that takes multiple years, if not longer. I don't know.
And also, it's not 100%. Like, even if you
No.
broke someone down so much, I mean, Game of Thrones is coming back this weekend. Even if you break what Theon Greyjoy down so much to the point where, like, he's scared of you, he'll still help Sansa escape. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
Like, people are still gonna do what they're gonna do because you can't control everyone and everything. I
That's
don't
right.
know.
I don't know, man. It's scary either way and
Yeah.
terrible, and oof, it's just a black hole of unknowing, and that's where a lot of conspiracy fills in the blanks. So
Well, and then it's like, oh, this happened. So if this is true, then what else is true? It's like,
right,
oh,
yeah,
then yeah, we faked the moon landing for this reason, or like,
yeah,
oh, Earth is
right.
flat. Wait,
Ugh.
someone said yesterday that Saturn is flat, but the rings, they're like, my professor told me it's someone in college, and I'm like, oh, you should go to another school.
They obviously fell asleep in class and barely heard the fucking lecture, and then woke up when, like, I don't know.
It was, I was just like, oh no, and she's an astronomy major, and I was like, oh no, this is
She'll
not.
figure it out when she fails her exam.
Yeah, or that professor's a piece of shit, weirdo.
Or that. Yeah.
I don't know. All
I don't
right,
know. Let's report him.
Yeah, I need to.
I'm
find out
calling
his
the
name.
police.
I'm gonna Karen this all the way to the police.
Oh, that's just what they want you to do.
Oh, the government. All right,
Yeah.
fuck
All
this.
right.
I'm
Fuck. We're on a list now, guys. So
Oh God.
if you don't hear from us, and I don't know.
Siri's been listening to my whole conversation. She's gonna tell everyone, and this is recorded. And
Yeah, my FBI agent and my CIA agent are going to be knocking on my door pretty soon.
oh no.
I mean, I live down the street from Langley, basically, so.
Yeah. So fuck shit.
Fuck. All right. Follow us on social media.
Ooh, at DTFU Podcast on all the platforms. We got a website, dtfupodcast.com. Check it out.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Same.
Party on and be excellent to each other.
And yourselves, you party
Yeah.
animals.
You filthy, filthy animals. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.